When you listen to the passion of the civil rights lawyer Benjamin Crump talking about the speed with which these officers were terminated and now charged, he says it's a blueprint. I suspect you agree.
Well, listen, I mean, we know that police chiefs have great autonomy and they can do whatever they want. Here on the Los Angeles Police Department, my police chief has up to 365 days to adjudicate an administrative investigation. And so while they have 365 days, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to take all 365 days. And so this chief in Memphis has clearly demonstrated that an internal investigation can be done readily and officers can be dealt with swiftly. And that should be the way that it's handled going forward.
I'm sure you've seen some of the commentary on social media and elsewhere. And a lot of people are saying, well, the reason why they terminated these guys straight away and they've charged them is because they're black. If they were white, there is no way on God's earth this would have happened. What do you say?
Well, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I think for me, no one else has said it, but I'll say it. I think the difference here is that we're talking about a Black woman who is a police chief in Memphis. I mean, there aren't that many females who hold the rank of police chief, certainly not Black. And so I think that this Black police chief is able to relate to the mother, as I am, having four sons myself. And I think that she understood that something needed to be done, and she did what she should have done. And I don't think it has anything to do with the ethnicity of the officers. I think personally it has more to do with the ethnicity of the police chief.
That's interesting because I've seen many cases over the years where you've seen police abusing usually an unarmed black man, and occasionally there will be a black officer, male and sometimes female, who will stand by and say nothing, do nothing, even though they should be able to relate to the person, the victim, who has the same skin color as them. But what a lot of people are saying now is that the fact that these black guys could batter another black guy so viciously that he died 3 days later, it shows that the only thing that mattered to them was the color blue. They were in a gang.
Absolutely. I've said many times that, I could take race out of some of these outrageous events that we've seen because it's just an officer who's drunk with power. There are more white officers across these 18,000 police departments than there are blacks. Because we're just not on the ranks. And so you don't see them misbehaving. But, these are young officers on the job. They had between 2 and 5 years amongst them, and they got caught up. They bought into the system. They are indoctrinated into that police culture. They bled blue, something I never did. And they got into a zone when they stopped Mr. Nichols. They manufactured probable cause for the stop. They said it was reckless driving after they realized they had overstepped their boundary, and now they've got to justify this unnecessary use of force that happened. And so this is not unique to Memphis. This is something that happens when you have a small unit like this Scorpion unit. The name alone should be offensive to most. But when you have a small unit, officers build camaraderie, and it's one for all and all for one. And it doesn't really matter the color or ethnicity of the officers involved.
People are now waiting with bated breath for the release of this footage, which will be imminent. What do you make of the Memphis police chief's candor in saying that this might be worse than the Rodney King footage?
I think they've gone to great lengths to try to prepare everybody. I mean, obviously, she's known for some time what this video contains. And I think a lot of what was done was right to do in terms of charging the officers, making everyone aware of what those charges are, give them some time to kind of ruminate on those charges, if you will, and then disseminate the video to show that this is different. Something is being done and it's being done quickly. Now, whether or not it's going to make a difference in terms of will the protests that occur be peaceful, I think there will be some opportunists that will take advantage of an opportunity to misbehave. But I think she's done everything that she could think to do in this instance to avoid destruction in her community.
And Cheryl, when you look at the avalanche of cases, I mean, because of what I look at, my algorithm sends them to me, whether I'm on TikTok, on Twitter, or whatever. Do you, as a distinguished, now retired police sergeant, sometimes, does your heart sink when you look at the quality of policing that you see on social media and elsewhere? Or do you keep to this notion that the vast majority of officers, they do the right thing, they're in it for the right reason?
Well, I do believe that the majority of police officers out there are in it for the right reason and are doing the right thing. We only hear of that small minority, just like in the criminal element. You hear of the small minority who keep misbehaving over and over. And oftentimes, when they do something that makes national news, we find out that this is not the first time. I would venture to guess that these 5 officers have engaged in unnecessary use of force. They did it too easily. It just came so naturally to them. And so this will be something that they'll investigate on that department. But I also believe that, the majority of the officers are there for the right reason. And so I don't want to paint everybody with this broad brush because of what these 5 officers have been seen to do. That's my experience and that's my belief.